Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call to order October 26th PZBA meeting at 7:02 PM. Roll call, please, Jan.
Chairman Kempa.
Here.
Commissioner Patel.
Here.
Commissioner Sayward. Here. Commissioner Weigel.
Here.
Commissioner Simmons.
Here.
Commissioner Mashevsky.
Here.
Commissioner DeGraff is absent by prior notice. We do have a quorum.
Okay. First thing to do is to approve the minutes from the September 28th meeting. Does anybody have any corrections to the minutes as presented? There are none. That I'd like a motion to approve the September 28th meeting minutes.
I'll make that motion.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? All right. First case for our new business is a PZBA case number 23-14V. The applicant is Mark Stoya at 408 Nawada Place, Prospect Heights. And we have two variations. The description of the variations are to allow reduction of the required corner yard setback from 35 feet to 22.2 feet, and the reduction of the required reverse cornered side yard setback from 35 feet to 22.2 feet for a distance of 35 feet for the construction of metal decorative fence. Can I please have a motion to open public hearing case number 23-14V at 7:04 PM?
I'll make the motion.
I second.
Second?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Patrick, can we have the screen up?
Director Peterson, can you give us description of this request and specifically describe for us the definition of the different yards?
Thank you very much, Commissioner Kempa. This evening before us, we have a request for two variations. That is a side yard setback of a corner property, and then a secondary variation because our code requires a set of setbacks if the front yard of the house, which would be the rear yard of the existing. So if we look up at the screen, and it's bottom one. Okay, this is the side yard. This area would be the front yard, side yard, and then rear yard. The fence variation is in this area here, and then the second one would be a setback. The next screen, please. There we go, thank you. What I have to start out saying, though, now that we've defined the yards, is the original application that was noticed in the newspapers was for a larger variation than what has been revised. This one, the original one, which was published in the paper, was showing it coming closer to Nawada, which would, and that was how it was originally. Next slide, please. Change, oops.
That one?
Nope. Yeah, but it's turned upside down. There we go. After the publication, they came back in with a lesser variation to keep the fence in line with the corner of the garage. As the revised request is a lesser request than the original one, they did not have to publish again. So just to let everybody know why there's so many documents in the packet. This shows variation one is showing the area that they're seeking variation. The building line for this property and in this whole subdivision are set by a building setback line. This dotted line that comes here and the dotted line that goes across is set back 35 feet from the property lines. However, the hardship that the applicant will testify to is that the house was built past the existing building line. So it wasn't even conforming to begin with. So what they're seeking to do is make the corner of the house the fence line. They will come back and meet up with the existing fence on the neighbor. So the two variation, and then this area here is, because this is a reverse corner, it's supposed to be set back away from the front, what would be the front of the neighbor's house over here, a distance of the setback. So the first variation is for this encroachment from the building line to the corner of the house. The second one is to not have to put the stepped fence in, to make it a clean fence from here to here. With that, staff recognizes the hardship, which was not self-created by the applicant. The property is legal, non-conforming, which meant that it's one point in time when it was in the county, it was built under the county rules, but they didn't build it to those rules. So we call it a legal non-conforming. And that qualifies as a hardship under the zoning code. If there's any other questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Can you briefly describe the 80%?
In the areas, this area here where the second variation, the setback, it requires that any fence in this area has to be 80% open, so it can't be a board on board, it cannot be a solid wood fence. What the applicant is, you'll see sometimes a decorative aluminum metal black with spigots, almost like a chain link, or split rail like the Western style fences that have a lot of opening. In your packet, the applicant has proposed a decorative fence. Can you go to that slide, I think? Yep, oh, that's got to turn twice, yep, there we go. So here, this is the existing wood fence of the house to the east. It's a 6-foot tall wood fence. They're going to be 6 foot tapered down to 5, and then the rest of the fence will be a 5-foot aluminum metal, black metal fence with the 80, and that fence meets the 80% openness, so it's not a solid wall that runs along the property line and or along Nawada. And that meets the openness requirement of the code.
Any questions for the director from the commissioners at this point? No? I'm assuming the applicant is here. If I need to swear you in, if there's anybody else that would like to speak to the case, I can swear you in at the same time. If you could stand up and raise your right hands. Do you swear that your testimony will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Thank you. If I could have the applicant come up and present the case for us. If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Sylvia, and the address is 408 Nawada Place in Prospect Heights.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. If you could present your case to us, especially the hardship, and describe the whole project to us, please.
Yes, we want to put a fence that ends by the garage, just so it looks pretty. And if we would put a fence continuing our neighbor's fence, it would basically end in the middle of our window, which it will not look nice. The main reason we want to put a fence is to keep our kids behind the fence and not in the street. Before we moved and after we moved, more kids moved into the neighborhood, so there are more cars passing by. than it used to be a few years ago. So I want to make sure that when my kids are outside and I'm in the house doing things, I want to make sure they are safe, not only from the cars, but, you know, things changed in the world nowadays. So I want to make sure that they are behind the fence and safe. And that's the main reason we want to put a fence on that side of the house. On the other side of the house, we know that we're not allowed to put a fence because that's our address or front yard, basically.
Okay. All right.
And, you know, the house was built on, due to non-conforming use, so it's hard to come up with a better fencing system. So I think the best for us is to have the fence on that side, what Daniel showed you, and the variation that we need, 2 variations. Also, the neighbor agreed to put for variation number 2. He signed and he agreed that we could continue with the fence on his side.
Do we have that exhibit?
It was, all the neighbors signed that they had received a copy of the notice, and the neighbor to the east did agree to the variation request.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Any questions from the commissioners to the applicant?
You mentioned safety as being a concern, so the yard is not going to be completely fenced in?
It will be. On the other side, it doesn't require variation, just the permit. So I'm here to talk about the variation on that side of the yard.
So could you just tell us where you plan to put the other part of the fence?
Oh, it's gonna be that corner.
Would-
So the
is
neighbor has
like
fence.
Approximately here, is this what you were
Yes,
talking
so
about?
the neighbor, that's where the neighbor's fence is. So we're just gonna continue from his fence to the corner house
Okay.
of ours.
Okay.
For everybody's information, the dotted green line is the 35-foot building line. They could put a fence all the way up to that green line by right.
Right.
So just so you understand.
Yep.
The reason we don't want to put a fence there is because I want a vegetable garden. So if I put a fence there, it's gonna limit the space for my garden. So the only option I have is to put a fence in that corner of the house. So I have, where the green line is open, to have my garden as big as I want.
Okay.
But Dan, the front yard is on the short side, correct? So we-
Correct.
Yes, the narrow side of the,
So they would not be able to put a fence
They
in
could,
that yard, right?
they could come up to the building line, just if, for example, if a house, the front of a house went to the building line,
Okay,
they could go up to that 35. They couldn't encroach from the 35-foot line
Forward.
closer to Toma.
got it.
we wish we could put a fence closer to Toma, but I know that we're not allowed to, so
Right.
we didn't request a variation on that side for this reason.
Well, on this side, there is a hardship because of the way the house is built.
Right.
So I understand that.
I wish it was built like the other houses, but we can't change it.
Right.
We have 2 elevations for the fence. One going 5 foot all the way across, and then one going 5 to 6.
Right.
Is there, because the 5 to 6, that one piece for that aluminum, I don't know, if you'd have to get like a custom piece made in aluminum, so
Right.
I don't know if that's even, would be an option for you, because your cost would be,
I
are there,
agree,
you're gonna go
yeah.
with either option, I assume, is that why they're both in here?
So we were thinking of both options, but as you said, I don't think we're gonna find unless it's gonna be a custom made. So I think we're just gonna go straight with, 5 feet instead of 6 feet and going down
think
to
She has
5
it
and.
this Tuesday. So you're probably gonna go with option 2. You're showing both options.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
showed both options because we were kind of debating between the two
Mhm.
options, but I think the second option is more.
Right.
And for everybody, this drawing's a little difficult, that's the lower one here, and it's level across the metal at
Right.
5 feet, and then joined
Right,
to the
we
neighbor.
wanted to make it look nice and just continue with the neighbor's fence, but his fence is old. I'm sure it's gonna be changed soon, so maybe the neighbor will continue with our height, so I think the second option, just going straight, it would be better in the long run.
It's more practical, yeah.
Right. He has a wood fence, and he said he put a fence when he moved. That was 40 years ago, so the storm is gonna blow it down soon.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? No? But, thank you for your presentation.
Sure.
If there's anybody else that could speak, please come up.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Rachel Haas, and I live at 502 Nawada Place, Prospect Heights.
Okay.
First of all, I hope that you don't hold it against me that I'm talking against having the fence. The last thing I want to do is to cause hard feelings for neighbors, but when you bought the house, they knew that there was, I mean, they should have known that there was this law that you couldn't have fences up close to the street. And I just think if you allow that, it's going to change the integrity of the neighborhood. It's supposed to be no fences and open look, more of a country look. And I'm just afraid if you let another fence come in, then they never match. It looks hodgepodgey, and I just don't like it. So I'm hoping that you will not agree to that. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
I'm Donna Hickson. I live at 500 Noelata, right across the street. Now, I'm a little confused. Did you say that the front of the house was on Toma?
Yes.
To me, the front of the house is on
No,
Noelata.
not
It's
the-
not the front, it's the front building line,
So,
by definition.
Okay, but
Okay.
to me, the front of the house is on Noelata.
yeah,
And I don't know, I've lived here for over 40 years, and we don't have a lot of fences, but as far as I'm concerned, we have too many. Even, there's one particular fence, that's a chain link fence, which to me speaks of inner city, and if I would have known that fence was going up, I would have been here sooner, but I didn't know. This one, at least I know. And I just don't like any more fences at all. And the openness is why we bought the house, and I'm sure many of my neighbors do, and I just oppose it.
Thank you.
just for clarification, just so everybody understands, in zoning, when we define the area of a lot or the layout of a lot, corner lots are very difficult because sometimes the houses get orientated against what the actual front yard is, and that's how this house was. It was more oriented. So by definition, the short dimension is either the front yard or the rear yard because of the building requirements. And that's how it works. So we've had a number of
My house
cases.
also was on an angle too, so it's kind of hard to.
Oh,
determine
that
too. As a
that
matter
neighbor,
of fact, I think some of our easement is really ours and not ComEd's. So we have trouble with all the wires and everything else too. So I kind of
Okay.
understand that.
All right, thank you.
My name is John Hickson. I also live at 500 Nowata in Prospect Heights. And I agree with what the other ladies have said there. We like the openness of the area. I'm a little interested in what's the need is for that 13-foot difference there. You know, I mean, they could have the fence at the agreed upon line, would be what, 13 feet back, I think, further? It was 22 to 35?
7 feet, from 35 to 22.
Under the, when this house was platted, the building line was 35 feet,
Right?
which is what the Cook County rules were. If this house were to be built today, the building line would be at 25 feet for corner yards. So it's, yes, the current building line, according to the plat, it's a 13-foot. If we follow the city ordinance, it comes down to roughly a 3 or 4 foot variation.
Okay, but I mean, the dotted green line is the 35-foot setback,
That's
yes?
that was the
That's what you're
platted
showing.
building line.
And that's where they would be legal without, they would just need a permit,
Correct.
correct? I wouldn't need a variation. I'm just wondering, I wonder why that wouldn't be significant, or, not significant, why that isn't enough. I mean, they still have a large backyard behind that. You know what I mean? Why do we want to have a fence come out right to the corner of their house there? It's just a question, I don't understand. Originally, I was really upset because the first notice that went out had it further up, closer to Toma. And, Nowata, I'm sorry. And the other thing is, how does this set a precedent for future applicants? Does it have anything to do with it? Do you ever consider the fact that we gave it to so-and-so, now we need to give it to you, or whatever? I mean, is that a significant argument for somebody that wants it? Our other neighbors across the street, they wanted to put a fence in to put around a swimming pool, but they wanted it to come out. Now, I don't think they've ever applied for it yet, because they just moved in. Now we're worried, do we set the precedent for this? You know, that's what we like about the area. We like the fact that we can see all the way, a block along, without any fences.
All right.
And that's my big concern with it. The fact that it's at the corner of the garage versus the other is much better. So I agree with that.
So to answer your question from a staff perspective.
Okay.
And from a zoning code perspective, each case is based upon the merits of the individual lot and the individual hardships and the individual conditions of each individual lot. So there is no precedent set by.
Okay, that doesn't come up in conversation with it. They don't say that house next door has this or whatever.
Oh, people say it all the time.
Well, but I
but-
mean,
But we have a
it
set-
shouldn't affect your judgment on
No,
it.
there's a set of standards that have to be met for
Okay.
each individual case, and that's what this process is for, is to
Right.
establish, are the conditions met to warrant granting on this particular lot? Because each variation goes for the lot in question, and
Okay.
each variation request is different in its own
Yeah.
kind.
That's definitely one of our concerns there is that would happen in the future. But anyway, that's all I have to say for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. You can please come up.
So I know Rachel said that she likes the openness, and before it was not allowed to put any fence. I know Daniel told me that before Prospect Heights became a city, you're not allowed to put a fence, so maybe that's why she knows that, but Prospect Heights is a city now, and a city allows to put a fence.
Thank you.
Could I ask you a question, ma'am? So to address that gentleman's, what's that 13 feet, why is that so important? Why is it the hardship? Instead of putting it on the building line?
Oh, the backyard is very small.
You mentioned something about a window.
Right, we have a big window on that side, So if we're going to continue with the neighbor's fence, basically our fence will end right in the middle of our window.
What would the variation be need to get past the window? Do you know how far?
Sylvia, just so you understand the question, if the window is here, how far would you need to come this direction? Because they're trying to figure out, here's what you're asking for,
Right.
here's,
But, see, there's the window here, and there's the garage window, so
Okay.
it will end from this window or the garage window.
okay.
And the garage window is also pretty big. I don't have any pictures of the window, but
Here's what I have for you.
Yeah.
Is that your garage window?
yeah,
So,
it's from an angle, so
Right.
it's actually bigger when
so
you're in front of it.
the depth of your garage is probably
20 feet.
right. You can see the reason to have the door inside the fence, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but to get the window, probably 10 feet behind here.
Yeah. Oops, excuse me, I lost it.
The neighbors across the street also put a fence, and he put a wood fence, and it ends by the corner of his house. So now,
Yep.
now we're
That's
window
on this
end.
plan, right?
So the house across the street?
Yes.
One of your neighbors here across the street?
Oh, no,
Are you
Which-
talking about across?
Across Hama?
across Nawada.
Okay.
So, I know you two had a concern about fencing.
Pardon
You guys had a concern about fencing being installed. So whether she installs it at the building line or at the variation line, which she's asking, which is another 13 feet towards Nawada, the fence still's there, right? Whether it's, she's allowed to do it at the building line, whether you guys oppose it, but fences are allowed. So if your concern is more, the fence is closer than you want it to be, or is your fence that she's having a fence, period?
Well,
Well, that's more noticeable from the street.
yeah.
Right.
That's, you know, we understand, lots of the yards have backyard fences.
Right, and this particular one, based on what she's trying to approve, it is a patio rail style fence, which is a little more a decorative fence, and it's quite open, it's 70% open, I would suggest to say. Whether it's at the building line or at the corner of the house, I think aesthetically, you're gonna see through regardless. But I understand your concern, but in general, she has the right to put a fence another 10 feet back, right? So your views would still be blocked going that way, regardless.
The neighbor across the street has a wooden fence on both sides of his house, which I think the type of the fence that we want to put looks much nicer than the neighbor across.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree with that.
But the wooden fences are on the setback lines.
Right,
Right, but when we look out of the window, we see a wooden fence.
right.
No. Yep, I wouldn't like that either.
But they're involved.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Director Peterson, if I could ask you to clarify today's standard for the setbacks of 25 feet.
Thank you. Under the zoning code, for corner side yards, the setback, minimum setback is 25 feet. That's what the code says. So if this house would have been built today, they'd be asking for a minimum 3-foot variation. But according to the code, which is what is the adopted, when the building lines were established, those were the established rules of the subdivision approved by Cook County. When the city became a city and established the zoning code, the city changed some of the setback requirements. For example, if this house were to get damaged in a storm, they could actually move it 10 feet closer to the roadway if they were to rebuild it. That's how the code is set up. So when we look at this, and if this house had been turned to with a front yard facing Nawada instead of at an angle, that corner becomes the front corner that defines that yard from the rest of the yard. There's and that's where, if we were looking at a traditional square rectangular layout, a side yard fence could come all the way up to that front lot, that front building line. So, we worked very hard to, as the applicant, to reduce the request from the very first one to be more in keeping with other houses. But if this house were to be built today, that 25-foot line would be the new side yard line.
Yeah, but it is not.
Understood, that's why they're here for the variation, which they have the right to ask for, so, but just for clarification.
And the
Thank you.
difference between that is 3 feet.
Yeah. Because this building line's at 35 feet, what would be a new one was 10, they're requesting to go to 22 from the property line.
22.2, so it's actually a little less than
Little
3
less.
feet.
Give or take placement of posts.
Any other questions? Any other concerns from the public? We'll get a chance to debate, but I would like a motion to close the public hearing for case number, if I could find the case number,
2314.
23-14 at 7:33 PM.
I'll make that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so, my comments for what's being presented here and from what the code says, in my view, the homeowner has a case in the sense that the fences are definitely allowed in the city, and so we wouldn't be able to deny the fence because other neighbors have that privilege. Because the house was built non-conforming from the aesthetic standpoint, the variation is minimum. It has been revised from the original, and it's a much smaller variation. Aesthetics are important to homeowners. They, invest considerable amount of money into their houses, and they want to make them look as good as they possibly can. I welcome other opinions or comments.
I think that if we're going to look at where they should put this fence, if they wanted to, if we can allow a 25-foot setback, and that stops you 3 feet behind the edge of a house, that would look sillier than just putting it right at the front of the house. So I think if the variance is gonna be allowed, if we're gonna go to 25, 22 is just as reasonable. And I don't see why we deny 25, because we would allow just about most residents to do that. We have. So I would definitely think that the house was in 3 feet back, obviously, the application that was withdrawn would be something that would be unaesthetically pleasing, but the application that's currently put in, I think that's the most aesthetically pleasing that can be achieved, and it'll go with the house.
I agree with that. I think the style of the fence is not as intrusive. I think it's probably gonna blend in, and, we certainly listen to everybody. We have to take neighbors and everybody into consideration. Putting it there, to me, it just makes more sense from a style standpoint than having another jog in there. That's the way I feel.
I would also agree that the type of fence that she's suggesting, the 5-foot metal decorative fence, is it's not going to obstruct the vision lines like it would if it was a solid fence. So I think it's a good choice for what they're doing. They're not going to block a view from the neighbor's house on the right at 406.
Six, yes.
I don't think they're going to be obstructing the view from that home. And I think it's an 88-foot wide fence in the front, and I think it's probably going to blend in the best with the landscape, that type of a fence. But that being said, if we give a variance, it's going to go with the property. So in that case, I would be in favor of the variance, but limited to a 5-foot metal decorative fence. And put that condition on it.
That is what's being, we will put it as a condition that stays with the property.
Correct.
I would be fine, I would be complete, that is what your request is for a 5-foot fence, correct?
The decorative.
Decorative fence.
So just to make sure that everybody understands, Commissioner Sayward's ask, by putting a condition that it has to be a decorative fence, because this will be part of this variation ordinance, no future owner could change that to a chain link, to a solid wood, to any of those. It would have to be maintained as a decorative metal fence with the 80% open. They could never make it solid. That's, if I understood.
Correct, because the variation goes with the property. If they sell the property, the next homeowner has the same variation. So that way, the fact that they're getting a variation for a fence, if we don't put that condition on it, they could put up a 6-foot solid vinyl fence.
Yes. I like that, I agree with that.
I like Janet on the board.
Yes, Janet's very thorough. Any other comments? All right, in that case, I would like a motion to accept into the public record the evidence and the testimony presented this evening at 7:39 PM.
I'll make a motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Now I would like a motion to recommend to the city council approval of case number 23-14V. We'll do it in two sections, yes?
Yes.
Okay. For a variation to section 5-6-1E3A to reduce a required 25-foot corner side yard to 22.2 feet.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Aye. I'll second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
So, but.
Oh, with the condition that the fence is a 5-foot decorative fence with 80% open.
Or 5-foot metal decorative fence is how they're describing it.
As listed, I'll clean up the language on that, yes.
Okay. Jen, roll call, please.
Commissioner Weigel,
Aye.
Commissioner Machewski,
Aye.
Commissioner Sayward,
Aye.
Commissioner Simmons,
Aye.
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Chairman Kempa.
Aye. Now I would like a motion to recommend to the city council approval of case number 23-14V for a variation to section 5-3-4H1F2 to allow a reduction of the reverse corner yard from, let me read the other one. It's clean there. If I could find the other one. Okay. To allow a reduction of the required reverse corner side yard setback from 35 feet to 22.2 feet for a distance of 35 feet for a construction of metal decorative, 5-foot tall metal decorative fence with 80% open.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Machewski,
Aye.
Commissioner Sayward,
Aye.
Commissioner Simmons,
Aye.
Commissioner Weigel,
Aye.
Chairman Kempa.
Aye.
Real quick. We said 5 feet.
5 foot tall.
5 foot tall.
Is it gonna be 5 feet or lower?
It could, a maximum height of 5 feet.
Okay, because we didn't say maximum, that's all.
Okay. This is a recommending body. It'll be before the city council on November 13th, Monday night, 6:30 here. And then they will review this, and you can have your opportunity to speak with it at that time as well. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the second case today is a PZB case number 23-16 SUB. It's a public meeting. Applicant is Jack and Elizabeth Van Orden at 1418 East Olive Street in Arlington Heights. And the description of the request is that the Van Ordens own the property at 1418 East Olive Street, which is part of a lot 15 in C.H. Tyler's Second Arlington Heights Acre subdivision. According to section 5-3-17E2 of the City of Prospect Heights Municipal Code, the owner is required to create a single lot of record for the property.
The applicants could not make it this evening. They're not in the area. However, this is more of a housekeeping. This case was before us last month with the variations, the 90-foot lot width and the 10-foot side yard setbacks for the new house on the vacant lot on East Olive. Our code requires that any lot platted prior to 1998 be created into a single lot of record. This lot in particular was one of a few lots of Lot 15 that was chunked off, so.
All right. Do we need to open the public meeting?
No, the public meeting is
Okay.
open.
Yeah.
and-
All we do is vote on it.
Correct.
All right, can I please have a motion to accept to the public record the evidence presented this evening?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, can I please have a motion to recommend to the city council approval of case number 23-16, which is to create a single lot of record for the property at 1418 East Olive Street in Arlington Heights?
I'll make the motion.
A second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Sayward,
Aye.
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Weigel,
Aye.
Commissioner Machewski,
Aye.
Commissioner Simmons,
Aye.
and Chairman Kent.
Aye.
I have a question
Yes.
for Dan. Are most of the other lots in that area along Olive platted now, or?
There still are a large number of lots, specifically in Arlington countryside. Also, there's still quite a few lots in Chairman Kempa's neighborhood and Commissioner DeGraff's neighborhood that are still that way. We had a similar situation when Manesh Patel built that 207 Parkway. Because in the old days, these subdivisions would come in and there would be 10 lots or 10 sublots within a lot. And then they'd sell off or parcel off at the time, and they would never have to go and actually record them as a single lot. So therefore, there were no easements, no accesses, there's nothing. And by doing this, even though PIN numbers were created for those lots, it just was very messy. So our city code was, back in 98, stated to, let's clean up the plats. So, but yeah, there still are a lot of them out there because just of when they were built, but a lot of them were cleaned up when the houses were built.
Do we have a 2024?
Calendar should be in front of you.
I don't think
It's stapled to the back of
Oh, okay.
There are two schedules in front of you. I'm requesting that we move to a Wednesday, the fourth Wednesday, just a 1 day sooner meeting date. It doesn't change up our notifications for any of our hearings, it doesn't do that, but it gives me one extra day to put staff reports, memos, to do. What happens quite a bit of time is I'm turning to having to draft ordinances and get that, and we have a Monday off, or we have another couple days off, and I still have to meet deadlines for getting those things produced for the council packets. And it's been getting a little more difficult with some of the other things that are coming on. So the option one would be to change to Wednesday nights. And then option two is to keep the standard Thursday night. The ordinance only requires us to have regularly scheduled meetings. It doesn't dictate that it has to be Wednesday or Thursday. It's just when we create a schedule, it should be a consistent schedule.
Wait, are we changing the date of the meeting, or we're,
No, instead of doing it on the fourth Thursday night like we typically do, I'm recommending moving to Wednesday nights
okay,
For the same week.
of the same week.
The day before.
It's just one day earlier. Additionally, because of holidays and because of travel and because of other things, I know some people in the past have had
Okay.
conflicts.
Chairman Kempa likes bachelorette on Wednesday night, so he might have a problem.
I'm going to disregard this comment.
I said he likes to show
And
bachelorette on Wednesday night, so he might have.
Is there a question before, in years
Before we
past, we've
vote.
had the,
Yeah. If, additionally, if you look on the option one, the Wednesday, for the third submittal deadline date, which would be February 23rd or 16th, that week of March 27th, actually is the spring break for both D223 and D214. So we typically move it up 1 week, but I wanted to show you. So if we move it up 1 week, that means that our meeting would be on Wednesday, the 20th, which would mean the deadline for submittal would be February 16th.
so how many people do prefer the 20th? I don't care.
Well, you gotta figure out Wednesday first, Wednesday or Thursday.
Oh, Wednesday.
Well,
Well,
it's just one day. If we're gonna do it, it just changes it by one.
Right, so,
So
still, I
I'll
want
adjust
to,
the schedule. I suppose the first question is, do we want to adjust the meeting dates the 1 week because of the spring break for both school districts, or does it not matter anymore?
I'm on River Trails Board, and I think we have them on Wednesdays, but I just text them to make sure. We don't have them, we only have them, I think we have 6 a year.
I think doing it a week before makes sense.
Yeah.
For that week. Oh, yeah, I have some in college, so I'm screwed, I'm messed up anyways.
Because
But I think-
none of them match?
They don't match up anymore. We're actually talking about that this week, but I think for general, I think it'd be better if we do it a week before.
so I have
Yeah.
Janet?
Doesn't matter to
Doesn't matter?
me.
Sigi?
me, yeah, we leaving always for the spring break, so.
You wanted a week
So
before,
week
right?
before? Okay,
Yeah.
so 2, Jerry?
That's fine, whatever one works
Before?
for everybody else.
I'm okay.
Okay, so we'll do it to a week before.
The week before, so we'll cross out the spring break week.
Okay, and now do we want to do Wednesday or Thursdays?
He just texted me. Oh, I'm on Tuesday, we're okay.
Okay, I'm good with Wednesday.
I'm good with
I'm
Wednesday.
good with Wednesday too.
Wednesday's fine.
All right, bachelor it is. Okay, so,
We don't need, if you want to ratify it by voice vote, that would be great. Then I'll get this published and it'll be reported out to the council next meeting.
okay, can I please have a motion to approve the schedule for the 2024 meeting, PCBA meeting, which is option 1, which moves our meeting date to Wednesday, and it specifies a March 20th as the meeting date for the month of March.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Simmons.
Aye.
Commissioner Masevsky.
Aye.
Commissioner Weigel.
Aye.
Commissioner Patel.
Aye.
Commissioner Sayward. Aye. Chairman Kempa.
Aye. And this motion was at 7:50. All right. Got any
Thank
updates
you
for
very
us?
much. It's been pretty quiet, other than trying to get a reservation at Bar Salado is almost impossible.
Use
some of that,
Use
some of the food you got.
Me and my son.
Use some of that
the
food
food's
you
really
got
good.
over there.
Yeah, there
The
ain't
food
no
is
pull.
pretty good.
My wallet's not that big, John.
You don't like it? Oh, that's
I
everything.
mean, the place is packed all
You
the
can't
time.
go to Taco Bell and not spend
Every time I
$20.
drive by.
It's insane.
I
Everything is expensive.
Before we get into side conversations, can we?
Can we, can I please have a motion to close the October 26th meeting at 7:52?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much.